You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. I
Thank you.
am so happy to have both of you here this week, and just every week getting together with all of you, but also with you two in specific, to be able to share all the weird little things. It's the best.
It's the best, absolutely.
It is.
So I get us started this week. And earlier this calendar year, I should say, I started us off with a discussion on a category of animals that we've not touched a ton on.
Okay.
And until that point, we hadn't covered any of these animals at all, which I was like, what? So this week, we're back with the next installment of the Bear Creature Features.
Oh, bears.
So we are now officially 2 out of 8 of all the species of bears.
Yeah, there are not that many bears.
No, there's only 8 species. Earlier this year, we talked about polar bears, the largest
that was cool.
bears. We learned about polar bear jail, wild times. This week, we are going to the opposite of the Arctic and going to the dense rainforest in southeastern Asia.
I was about to say, I don't think there are any bears in the Antarctic.
No, there is not. In fact, the name Antarctic means no bears, which is very fun because they didn't know that there were no bears when they named it that. So that's,
really?
Yeah. They didn't know.
Arctic means bears?
Arctic means bears.
I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't know that either. That's very cool.
I'm pretty sure there's a derivative of it meaning bears. It pretty much means bears, no bears. It's weird, y'all. Anyway, so we're going to southeastern Asia. Let's say we'll go to Thailand. Okay, we're going into the rainforest.
All right, cool.
And we're
like
actually looking. We're gonna have the best time. The food, amazing. And we are going to try to find the smallest of the bear species. So we're going to be looking up in the trees as this bear is really good at climbing, looking overall for a little black bear with a little cream patch in the shape of a collar on its chest.
Yeah.
The bear we're looking for is Hell Arctos Malayanus.
Well, there's that Arctos thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we,
that is the Latin
Victoria,
name. That is.
Are we giving you credit for that?
How was my Latin?
Did you get that right?
I think that was pretty good.
We'll give it to you.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
8 for 10.
Yes. I've hit a B.
And one of those was really unfair.
Yeah, it really,
that was a tough
really
one.
was.
Tell us about this little bear.
So this is also known as the honey bear or the Malay bear, or more widely, the sun bear.
That's the one I was
sun
the sun bear.
That's where I thought you were going.
It's a cute little bear. There's even been comparisons of it being like the Paddington of bears, which I find very funny. It's real cute. So it stands at the shoulder about an average of 28 inches at the shoulder, which is about 70 centimeters tall. And that's at the shoulder.
Okay.
When
it's on all fours, I assume.
When it's all on fours, yeah. Its body length is about 4 to 5 feet long, or 1.25 to 1.252 meters. It weighs anywhere between 65 to 145 pounds. or also known as 23 to 65 kilograms.
So pretty small for a bear, is what you're saying.
It's pretty small,
Right,
yeah. So that's generally the size of it. It's about half the size, like weight-wise especially, with the American black bear. And its body length is shorter than a Rachel. Not by much, but it is shorter than a Rachel. As the name sun bear maybe suggests, although the name is more derived by that collar around its neck, giving it the appearance of like a rising sun. That is generally where that name kind of comes from. They love to sunbathe, actually, up in the trees. So we really have to look up because these bears go pretty high up in the trees. They can go upwards of like 70 feet.
I mean, if you're going to sunbathe in the rainforest in the trees, you got to go up pretty high.
You have to go pretty high. So they're really, really good at that. And actually, they're extremely good at climbing. They're well adapted to climbing. So they are spending their time sunbathing in the trees, eating all sorts of things. We'll get to that though. So it is a really fun, like, coinkydink that they are called sun bears, but they also love to sunbathe. And like we said, they go pretty high up in the trees, but the way that they're able to do that is they have some really interesting adaptations for it. So these are, as we've established, really small bears. However, even though they're small bears, they have some pretty large features. Their head is pretty large. They have one of the larger skulls, to the point where they actually have a really strong bite force, especially for their size.
I'll pass.
As you should, actually, because they are still a bear, so they have canines and things like of that nature. So a bear.
Yeah.
They could still mess you up if they wanted to.
Right.
Let's talk about that because they absolutely could. They are mostly diurnal bears or crepuscular. They prefer to be away from people, and they actually prefer spaces where there is little to no human activity, which means that they have suffered from human impacts and deforestation and such when it comes to like habitat loss. So they have suffered in that way. However, I wouldn't really want to deal with a sun bear. For one, their front paws have 4-inch long claws.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay. Which isn't great. And they have
great for climbing trees, though.
It's amazing for climbing trees. So they have 4-inch long claws, and they have little to no fur on their large pads of their feet to help. Like, their feet are huge in comparison to the rest of their body. And there's little to no fur, so they have better grip on the trees as they are climbing as well. And for context, for the 4-inch long claws, that's comparable to grizzly bear claws.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are not small claws. Their front legs, also to help them climb, are actually bowed inward. So their paws and their claws are actually kind of in a little bit. If their paws were on the ground and they were facing straight, following like the length of their snout, facing forward, instead they're turned in a little bit. They're pigeon-toed. They're pigeon-toed. Their elbows are a little more inward, so that way their claws are facing inward a little more, which actually helps them climb a lot better.
Sure.
Another really interesting adaptation, that little cream patch, which is where they get their name, is actually really unique because each bear, that particular patch varies in size and coloration. Some of them will have spots and things of that nature. But because they vary in size and shape and even in tints and shades of color, they're actually individual patterns for each bear. So you can identify different bears based on the colored patch that they have on their chest, which is really fun.
That is cool.
However, that is not overall, like, it's not the weirdest thing about the sun bear.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a cool bear, and I've been talking about bears, but it's not the weirdest thing. What is something that I haven't talked about yet, y'all?
What they eat?
Yeah. So these bears are true omnivores. They will eat lizards. They'll eat insects. They love insects. They love bees. They love fruit, especially figs. But they will eat all sorts of things. They especially love honey.
Uh-huh. Well, you mentioned one of their names was the honey bear, right?
Yes, which is true. And one of the things that they really love to do and that they're well able to do is to break open logs and, similar to an anteater, stick their tongue into a bee's nest, stick their tongue into a rotting log, and scoop out that delicious, delicious food.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And they're able to do that because their tongue is, I am not joking, 10 inches long.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait, now hold on. Let me ask a question here.
Okay.
Is that it sticks out their mouth 10 inches, or like are you measuring like to the back of their tongue? Because the tongue goes back quite
It does. It's generally from the back of the tongue out. Okay.
It's still really long.
It's still really long. For
Yeah.
comparison's sake, humans have a little from the back of the tongue to the tip of our tongue is a little over 3 inches.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay.
So
That's ridiculous.
the sun bear has a very, very long tongue.
It's
And
so weird looking.
it's very weird looking. And
So
they
they are
use
like
it
the
to their
Gene
advantage.
Simmons of bears.
They are worse than the Gene
Oh my
Simmons
gosh, I
of
just
bears.
Googled it.
Isn't it awful?
Googled it. It looks
It's
so
so
weird.
fun. Yeah, it looks like it's the epitome of Scooby-Doo's tongue when it comes out for like whatever food contraption they're trying to fit into their mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they use it really, really well to get into all the nooks and crannies for all sorts of like food, especially rotting logs. They love termites. They will eat the larvae from termites and bees, and the stings don't really bother them or anything like that either. But yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing about the sun bear is just how long their tongue is, and it's truly phenomenal, and I love it so much.
Crazy.
How does it
It
not
is
bite its own
absolutely
tongue
wild.
all the time?
It still like goes back long enough. They have a shorter
I
snout,
know,
but
I
they
know,
don't have
but-
like a. Yeah, I would bite my tongue all the time. I don't understand. They probably do bite it, but they're cute little bears, and they have weirdly long tongues for like good reason, but also it's upsetting. And they're just real cute, and they live for a pretty long time. Like they can live for up to 36 years or so in captivity. They're so fun, and I just wanted to talk about sun bears because I haven't talked about bears in a little while. So that
Right.
is my bit about bears.
Thank you, Rachel.
Anytime. It's a little joyful little topic. My sources this week were, I got some information from Wikipedia, from National Geographic. San Diego Zoo had a great article. And then, of course, the Bear Biology, the International Association for Bear Research and Management, had some amazing articles and information on there about what they eat, as well as other information about sun bears. So
Fantastic.
yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
back. Well, as naturalists, you two are current naturalists. I'm a former naturalist. We often teach about reptiles and amphibians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The herps.
The herps, common program topic. And if we're talking about like the difference between reptiles and amphibians, one of the things we say is that amphibians lay eggs in the water and reptiles lay eggs on land.
Right.
Of course, we know nature laughs at our little boxes.
Yes,
Very true.
it does.
And there are plenty of exceptions to this rule, some of which we've mentioned on the show before. I wanted to talk about an interesting one here.
Ooh.
So while I was aware, and I think we've probably discussed that there are quite a few snake species that give birth to live young, I was not familiar that there are some lizards that do the same, but there are.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
In particular, I want to talk about a species of chameleon that gives
Ooh.
live birth.
Okay.
And so just like a little quick refresher or primer, in animals that give birth, there's a distinction between viviparity, I can never say those words. Being viviparous and ovoviviparous. So like,
those are some of my favorite words.
yeah.
I learned about those when I was learning about sharks, about vivipary, ovovivipary, and it's like they're great words.
Ovovivipary.
Yes.
There's another one, isn't there?
Oviparous.
Oviparous.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So like birds are
oviparous,
oviparous.
viviparous, and
They lay
ovoviviparous.
eggs.
Yeah.
What? Easy rolls off the tongue.
It
Truly.
does. It's like eggs, lays eggs, doesn't lay eggs, or has eggs internally that hatch internally.
Yes. So
those are the three choices.
But isn't live birth.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
if any of you are completely confused as to what we're talking about, I'm going to explain a little
Good.
more.
Great.
So,
Please do.
For example, all mammals, except for the egg-laying monotremes like platypuses, are viviparous. So young are grown inside the mother, nourished by some kind of placenta, and then the mother gives birth.
Well, also marsupials.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they have some kind of, like they have a rudimentary placenta,
Right.
but it's not like the full thing.
Right.
And the baby's born at an early stage, but it's still the same thing.
They don't come from an egg.
They don't come from an egg.
They don't come from it. Yeah.
In ovoviviparous animals, an egg is formed inside the mother, but instead of laying the egg remains inside of her until the baby's ready to be born.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the main difference. So the chameleon I want to talk about is Jackson's chameleon, Latin name Triceros jacksonii. It's,
Beautiful.
Yes, thank you. That was a pretty easy one, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Oof.
It is found in the highlands of Kenya and Tanzania. There are actually several other species of chameleon that also give live birth. This is not the only one. Many of them are in the same genus, also all living in the East African highlands. This is a tree-living species, and the genus name Triceros comes from the three horns that the males have, which I think you kind of can picture a chameleon with three horns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have that typical chameleon look. Their eyes move separately. They kind of bug out. They have a prehensile tail and the weird feet.
Yep. They
Which
really have weird feet.
Yeah, chameleons have, it's called syndactyly. So they have the same sets of like 5 finger bones and toe bones that we do, for example. But the toes are fused. So each foot only has 2 toes. And they go like on either side so they can grasp a branch. And so one toe has like 2 little toenails and the other has 3 little toenails, but it's all one toe.
It's weird.
It's weird looking. And of course, this chameleon can change color. So let's get on to the birth thing. So fertilization is internal. The female is pregnant for quite a long time, 5 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Which
that's a long time for a lizard, especially.
Yeah. And get this, she can be pregnant with between 8 and 30 eggs, babies.
That's That's too many. That's a lot of babies.
And when they're born, they're not small either. They're not that small. Like, it is a lot to be carrying around for that mom, I imagine.
Yeah, especially since, like, they're not the biggest lizards anyway.
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so when the mom is ready to give birth, she just like squeezes the babies out one at a time. They don't actually have a hard or leathery eggshell, but they have a thin membrane that still surrounds the baby when it comes out.
Okay.
And as soon as it comes out and like touches something, the baby kind of wakes up and tears its way out of the sac. And keep in mind, though, that I said this is a tree species, an arboreal species.
This is happening in the trees.
In the trees.
Oh my god.
So you're like, well, how are these babies not just like falling to the ground and dying?
Yeah.
Yup.
Well, the egg sac is very sticky. And
Oh,
it sticks to the tree
cool.
branch.
That's so cool. That's so smart.
You can watch videos of this online. It's very cool. And then as soon as they come out, they can grab on with their little feet. They're completely independent at birth. Mom does not provide any further care. They just go on their merry way.
Okay.
But interesting question, a deeper question is like, why? Why does this species and related species give live birth when others do not? And some scientists have asked this question, and what they believe is that the answer lies in something I mentioned earlier. So Jackson's chameleon and others that give live birth are highland species. Although they live in tropical areas, their altitude means that the areas they live in can get quite cold, especially at night. They can even drop below freezing.
Oh,
Wow,
okay.
So that's not good for eggs.
No.
Like,
you want to stay a general, like, relatively the same temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And birds deal with that by incubating their eggs, right? But chameleons don't have body heat, so they can't do that.
Kind of tricky.
But if the eggs are held internally, they stay warm enough. And I didn't read anything about this in particular, but I'm guessing that is also, like, the cold is also the reason that their gestation is so long. I think maybe it just, like, there's not enough energy in the system for them to move fast or something. I don't know. That's me speculating.
Okay.
So yeah, all the species of chameleon that give live birth either come from higher latitudes, or higher altitudes.
Huh.
Which is pretty cool.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That's what I got this week.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here pondering, being like, huh, I guess that makes sense. But like, yeah, oh my gosh, that's really cool, Victoria.
What a cool animal.
They are. And of course, you can see fun videos of them online, dropping their babies and moving their eyes around, catching bugs, all the chameleon things, changing colors. Oh, also a little tidbit. Like they'll climb, because it's kind of cold there. In the morning, they'll climb up to the tops of the trees and they'll change their color very dark so that they can absorb the sun better in the morning.
Oh, nice.
That's fun.
Hang out with the sun bears.
Yeah, they'll hang out
with the
over there.
sunbears.
Actually,
Wrong continent,
they could.
but sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Tiny,
fair.
tiny little, details, right?
Oh, I suppose.
Well,
That's so cool.
I got some good information this week from Animal Diversity Web and also from Wikipedia. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Thanks, Victoria.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Society of Strange. That's what we call our patrons over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society members directly support the show they love, and depending on their level of support, get fun perks such as bonus content on select shows, insider photos, water bottle stickers, and here's a big one, every level of support gets every episode 100% ad-free. Come join the other lovers of the show, help keep this strange show going, and get those ad-free episodes. We'll see you all over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Hey everyone, welcome back. We live in a place with trees. I mean, at least the three of us do.
Yes.
I don't know.
Accurate, yes.
I can't speak for all of our listeners. I know not everywhere has trees, but most of our listeners probably live in a place where a tree is, very, very close by. There are so many trees on Earth that it's hard to even imagine how many there are. One of my favorite little facts is that there are significantly more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
What?
Yeah. So scientists estimate there's roughly 100 to 400 billion stars in our galaxy, but the best estimate for trees on Earth is somewhere around 3 trillion.
Oh, that's
What?
a lot of trees.
Yeah. It's
That's
3
so
trillion
many
isn't a
trees.
number you can really even
I can't
wrap your
my
head around.
that.
No.
No.
Yeah, there are
We can't
far
wrap our head around billion. Seeing
No.
how much more trillion is from a billion. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
No
pretty
way.
wild. So there are indeed far more trees on Earth than there are stars in our galaxy. Little fun fact to pack away in your back pocket. And here's the thing to think about though, there's also a lot of water on Earth in the form of oceans, right? So roughly 71% of the Earth's surface is ocean, and famously not a great place for trees.
So true.
On
Yeah.
land, trees can't, won't, or don't grow everywhere. So according to the UN, some statistics I found, about 31% of the land on Earth is forested, and yet there's still 3 trillion trees. And granted, there are
insane.
trees
Oh my
that are not in
gosh.
forests as well. But,
Well, yeah, but
a lot of them are going to be in forests.
I didn't think about that. The implications, Kirk. The implications.
Right. The trees are not even on the whole surface of the Earth, and yet it's 3 trillion.
They're really
pretty
crowded in
wild.
there in the tree
Yeah.
sections.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to take you to a place today, though, where trees don't grow. The first thing to come to mind might be like a desert,
Sure.
or maybe a mountain
Yeah.
above the tree line, right? If you get too high up.
A
But in this
wetland,
case,
maybe?
maybe,
Some wetlands.
might become this would be a swamp if it has trees, I guess, right?
I guess.
But in this case, we are specifically headed to an island.
Okay.
Islands
And-
can have trees.
They can, but this one does not. We're going to the far edge of the Southern Ocean, where the wind never seems to rest and the sea churns in a constant gray rhythm. And there we're going to find the mysterious Campbell Island.
Campbell Island.
Now, there are lots of grasses, to be sure, here, but no forests. Except if you look closer, it turns out there is a tree here.
Okay. Is it a
There's
very,
Just one.
very
a tree.
One single
one tree?
lonely tree. It's actually a single Sitka Spruce that rises from the grasses of Campbell Island. It stands tall and green in a place where no other trees grow. More than 200 kilometers separate it from the nearest other arboreal neighbor.
Sitka spruce are native to the Pacific Northwest, are they not?
Correct. So something very strange is going on here. But this tree, this particular Sitka spruce, has come to be called the loneliest tree in the world.
That sounds like an accurate description. Poor tree.
It
I know.
does.
It's not-
This tree has no forest companions. There's no saplings spreading under tow. It is truly alone. The spruce is a stranger on this sub-Antarctic island. As you pointed out, it's a species that's native to North America that somehow found its way to this place that is pretty wild place. It's mostly formed by wind, seabirds, and grasses. So how did this tree that's not even from anywhere remotely in that part of the world get there?
Well, I have a guess.
It's not even in the right hemisphere.
Correct. It's certainly not. What would be your guess, Victoria?
People.
Yeah, people. That's
People
that's what we
feels
think.
like the best option because a bird is not carrying a Sitka spruce cone.
Yeah, it's weird. Some stories apparently say that Lord Ranfurly, the governor of New Zealand, planted it there in 1901, which is a nice, tidy little story. This is in doubt, though, and researchers believe that it must have actually been planted later, basically based on its growth rate and by looking at its rings. So doing some like dendrochronology on there. The stories don't, the evidence doesn't seem to line up with that story. So we don't really know the exact year or exactly how it got there, but we know this tree has stood on this island for roughly a century, surviving these brutal storms that just sweep across the island with a force that could flatten many other species. It's really a cool tree. It's a survivor.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, you might be picturing like a tall, spindly kind of tree. It's actually grown into this big blob of a tree. It's sort of...
It has no competition.
Yeah, no competition, so it's really kind of spread out in just this big... I picture, if you've ever seen like an eastern red cedar in the middle of a field where they just can kind of spread into a big bulbous kind of shape. That's kind of what it looks like. It's grown to a height of about 9 or 10 meters, so about 30 feet tall, which is pretty impressive.
That's with the winds and everything?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean,
and
I
it's
think
growing
Sitka
in like...
spruces can get a lot taller than that.
They can,
But-
yeah. This one has never known the protection of a forest canopy, and there's like the constant winds you mentioned, so that's probably kept it down some. It's actually small for a Sitka spruce of this age. They generally grow about 150 to 250 feet. That's about 45 to 76 meters tall. The record, though, is actually a Sitka spruce in California that is 100 meters tall, so 330 feet.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So 300 feet taller than this one. So it's an old tree, but it's, conditions, not the wind, plus growing in a place that is essentially inhospitable to trees, has, it's kept it down a little bit.
It's impressive that it survived, though.
It's amazing, super impressive. Despite it being around 100 years old, one of the other interesting things about it is that this lone Sitka of Campbell's Island has never produced a cone.
I was about to ask if it had ever produced any sort of cones. Yeah.
Yeah, and from what I could gather, sort of the cool oceanic climate kind of keeps it in this like suspended youth. So it's a tree that grows tall, but it's technically not a mature tree, even though it's like 100 years old, which is also very, very strange. There's a bunch of strange things about this tree. So Campbell Island, it's remote, it's uninhabited, it's ecologically delicate. It's now a protected location, but this spruce tree isn't native. In fact, like I said, no tree is native here. Its presence is an anomaly in a landscape that's just dominated by grasses and low shrubs. Scientists do classify it as an invasive alien species, although it's not spreading. So I guess it's an invaded species. You know what I mean? It's like invasive usually means that it's like spreading and taking over, and it's clearly not. It's just the one tree there.
It's a non-native species.
Yeah, it really, I saw people referring to it as invasive, and I'm like, I think you call it an alien species. I don't think you can call it an invasive alien species. It has no realistic chance of spreading. But its isolation is what has captured the imagination of people around the world. The Guinness Book of World Records recognized it as the most remote tree on Earth. With the nearest other tree, like I said, is 222 kilometers away, actually in the Auckland Islands. And for many years, this spruce was simply a curiosity. It was a strange landmark on a windswept island that few people would ever visit. But then scientists realized that it held something far more valuable than just its novelty. So inside its rings, it basically carries a story and a record of the sky and the air around it. So in the mid-20th century, nuclear weapons tests released a pulse of radioactive carbon into the atmosphere. And this radiocarbon, known as carbon-14, spread around the globe and created a distinct spike in the atmospheric record. And researchers searching for like a precise global marker of the start of what we call the Anthropocene. So basically that's the time period that marks like humanity's kind of start, have proposed that, this geological epoch of human influence like needs like a really clear global like signal of when it started, and they were looking for something and they found the loneliest tree. Because it's the only tree on Campbell Island, the rings provide an uncontaminated record of atmospheric radiocarbon in the southern hemisphere. And in 2018, scientists published a study showing that the spruce recorded this radiocarbon peak in late 1965. And that's kind of interesting because that's actually a year later then we see that same spike in the northern hemisphere, which is kind of curious.
Yeah.
But this seasonal timestamp made it like a strong candidate for what we call the golden spike that could define the beginning of the Anthropocene. So that's now sort of the marker that some people use is the record in this singular tree. And so it's kind of cool that this tree that was planted by chance on this super remote island has basically become like a witness to global history.
Yeah.
That's
Which
so
is-
cool.
Yeah, and I will say its scientific importance did not end there. Climate researchers, including radiocarbon scientist Jocelyn Turnbull, have used the same tree to study atmospheric carbon dioxide patterns over the Southern Ocean. This region absorbs a significant portion of the carbon dioxide released since the Industrial Revolution. And because the spruce is the only tree for hundreds of kilometers, its needles and wood capture a uniquely clean signal of the air that moves across the Southern Ocean that you're just not going to get from other trees because they're not there. So this allows scientists to study how much carbon dioxide the ocean absorbs and how that absorption is changing over at least the last 100 years, and also maybe give us some predictions on what the future might hold for the global climate. So it's kind of cool. The loneliest tree in the world has become a tool for understanding the fate of the planet. And today the spruce still stands on Campbell Island. It's extraordinary. It's a tree that should not exist in a place where no tree belongs. It's a tree that has recorded the marks of human history. It's a tree that helps scientists understand the changing atmosphere. And it's a solitary figure that connects distant parts of the world through the information that it carries within its very structure, which I think is kind of cool. So I'll leave you with this thought that if you're ever feeling lonely, disconnected, distant, you can always think of the loneliest tree in the world and remember that you probably aren't as lonely as that tree. And even if you are, even if you really were, you could still contribute to our understanding of this strange, amazing world.
Oh,
beautiful,
what a nice note
Kirk.
to end the
Yeah.
episode on.
That's a great note.
I hope that our show makes people feel not so lonely out there too. Some of my sources were Guinness Book of World Records. I think I mentioned the UN, Radio New Zealand, phys.org, Nature Scientific Reports, and NASA.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All
Kirk.
right.
You are very welcome. That is our show, everyone.
Woo!
All right.
It's a wrap. All right.
Thanks,
We will see
everyone, for
everybody next
listening.
time.
See you next week.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.